I am going to be 100% honest, I completely forgot the fact that if I hit... No, what's it called? Run ads manually, it just ends up running 6 minutes of ads. Instead of just skipping like the minute to do that. Because pre-rolls are cringe. Actually, I should. That's. Should not have you up, I guess. There's a part where I want 3 screens actually, so yes, you can live here for now. Cool, cool. I'm an idiot. Because I was covering my camera. This has started with me going down a historical rabbit hole because I need to sort of know how. Science, verify and work. Because of typing groups, wasn't typing challenges, 10 being an assembly of men, 10 heights of land, 100 the acre, not just for household, typing group, originated Anglo-Saxon, Norman conquest, subject manor owner. Members of typing groups were required to attend manor courts and could be collectively fined if one of them misbehaved. One in charge was the chief pledge, who was elected and for over 100 and was usually the wealthiest man, but therefore had the most to lose. System of collective punishment, how... responsibility. Universalistic. Principle of the petty constables, parish constables who works for the king's magistrate, keeping public order, whipping, driving up beggars, vagrants, like punishing drunks, to church, still elected, they were not paid, especially when individuals make arrests on their own, justice was so much community based. And always served originally the king, being shire evil sort of a manager, but 13th they were the king's justice, sheriffs was selected from notables of Israel, representing local power structures. Yes, I have started this session prep with looking up medieval what's it called? Medieval history. Because, like, let's go. Community based. Hi Kellen, thanks for redeeming first. Welcome in. Hopefully you're doing good. Hi. Thanks as always for showing up. I appreciate it. I am currently reading about medieval law enforcement. Which, to be fair, doesn't look like it would cause any problems in stream, so I can put it up here. The proceeds of king position sheriff high desire for ambitious. I think I just use sheriff because it's a cool sounding title. And it sort of makes sense. And then I don't have to worry about the mix and matches. And then they are an agent of nobility, which is more interesting. Sure. This has been the conclusion of my brief reading into medieval thing. Yes, that is me. I'm gonna plunk down the other thingamajig actually, because like it's not necessary. It is. I am logged in on the Quack YouTube. Oh no, I'm banned. I'm not allowed to catch stuff. We've established this. This is the beginning, but I don't really want to touch on any of the undead stuff. I'm probably going to end up buffing the skeleton stat block. I mean, the armor suit stat block, and that's just not going to be there. I should actually, that's probably what I should immediately do, is figure out how the loot is, what the loot is, etc., etc. Unfortunately, the new DMG doesn't have, like, the old-fashioned type of loot table. Which is very disappointing, to be honest. It has loot tables, but they aren't, like, the same thing. So I might just use the old DMG's ones. Which is a book I own, but, physically. I mean, this stuff is all old stuff. I mean, actually, you can't see this. Fine, I can walk. I mean, that's boring. Also, kind of doesn't make sense for them to have. What's it called? Like a random +1 weapon, I suppose. Roll it. Let's try this again. No, it's the Hungy spellbook. So essentially, I want a spellbook that eats, like a cursed spellbook that eats other magical things and kind of functions as in like other spellbooks and scrolls and stuff. It just goes yum. And if it's a wizard spell, it gets added to the spellbook because I think that's a cool item. It can be sentient and kind of creepy. And just function as like a +1 spellbooky thing. It's going to be like an arcane grimoire or something, isn't it? Yeah, the spell books. Oh shit. What's ahead? Control Shift V. Scrolls. Why are you liking Sujo? Weird. Very weird. I guess I'm working on memory usage. I can get rid of Discord. I should help significantly. I forgot about the Foogies. There is a simple solution to the Foogies being a problem. Bye, Foogies. Well, once the Foogies. You know? That was a thought in my brain at some point. Ooh. No, bad me. Stop getting distracted by random stuff. What spells did Crazy Necromancer Lady have? God, did the thing. Willingly on a tune. I can spell, I swear. Right. So, bells. So, Control Shift V. Cool. Actually, I can't need to put my like in the book because I'll just say there's a spell spec he doesn't have already. Hmm. We pretty much did 3 of these. No, I'm just gonna. Oh, they don't question it. Alarm is probably the most useful one there, to be honest, because like that's a ritual spell. Summon under ain't bad either. I'm gonna bump the monies up a bit, just to make them nicer numbers, or divisible by 5. Not well before, but just very simply. Right, everyone gets 10 gold. Wait, no, now they're... Because... Yeah, whatever. I'll just leave it as the original numbers, because it does hold divisible by 4. Thingamajig. Yeah, I'll go with that. With that loot. Now I need to decide what's going to be... Okay, now this gets... Now that becomes an inconvenient spot, so you get put down here. Wiggle! Okay, no. That's a Wiggles. I can't say no to Wiggles. I apologize to me. You know, it's just like me talking to myself at the moment, so screw it. I can catch myself for Wiggles. Who's gonna stop me, huh? Who's gonna stop me from catching a Wiggles? Anyway, where was I? Yeah, I need to decide what I'm going to do with this map here. Because, as previously done, they got the Necromancer. They've gone inside. You got all of this stuff. And then there's the previous... this map. But obviously, all the Undead are gonzos. Was this map not hidden? Do I want to be funny and just, like, have this be trapped somehow? Rigged. Like, it won't do anything, right? Because, again, they're mostly fine even after the fight. Even though I've got tents, you can actually heal now, and having a healer, pretty goddamn useful. I mean, I didn't even drop a familiar this time. So I probably should think about increasing difficulty, because combat takes so long. One of the things I forgot, but, like, yeah, you kind of just need to make the combats really quite dangerous, unless you really want to run a full dungeon crawl. Which I kind of want to, but, like, they evidently don't seem to want to do, what's it called, a dungeon crawl. I mean, to deal with a goblin problem, so, like, I'm not gonna railroad them into that. Doesn't mean I can't recycle ideas, because recycling ideas is just what a smart person does. Genius me. I can make this into a proper trap. Then how do I... There's also a certain amount of... I just let them figure it out. Because if I have it, but they enter here... Obviously I'm not going to use Glyph of Ward and Glyph of Warding, because that's way too much damage for what are now level 4 characters. Which we still need to level up. Either way, that's way too much damage. And it just, like, I guess not. It would have to, like, run, destroy the stairs. I won't instantly incinerate the whole thing. Or burn the full thing down, would it? So... I'd have to figure out a method to do that. If I wanted that. Unless... I did have the initial thing being... This is like a last resort sort of backup thing where... The stairs are supposed to collapse and go onto some sort of trap. But then what would I do as, like, the obstacles in here? Poison gas is always funny, but... like, then I'll have to have it be sealed, and then I'll just be kind of break a door down in time, which the answer will be yes. It could be like some sort of arcane runoff that, like, they go on the stairs, fail a deck save, collapse, fall down. And then it's, like, physically sticky and, like, harmful to be in contact with. So it just causes damage and they have to figure out a way to bring the person up. That seems like a decent idea if I want to, like, plump a hazard here. And then also it's not... Because previously I was going to put the armor suit in the basement. But I don't want to do that without Blue. Because Blue said I didn't really want much, like, main story progression window gone, so it would just be, like, side questy stuff. That seems reasonable enough of a thing to do in the meantime. The answers becomes, like, what? Like, DC to set saves. I mean... Hi, Mac. Welcome in, welcome in. Yeah, I'm just doing some prep at the moment. Yeah. And all that, you know, making sure that whenever I do next session, we haven't, like, banged out a day. Everyone seems to be okay with days mentioned in our group chat, but no one's, like, said anything much. So we're just waiting and seeing, and hopefully scheduling doesn't cause problems. Yeah. How you are, Mac? How was, Rivals? You were doing comp, weren't you, today? Actually. Yeah. Been... Yeah, we very much need to. I've just said all the times that I was aware that I'm free and other people, knowing other people's schedules, they're free. So now we're just trying to get, what's it called? Just see if we can get everyone in. We're essentially just waiting to hear back from one person. Hopefully we can run this week, because I don't like running with 2 people missing. And Blue's on holiday right now, so. Hi, Ritsu. Welcome in. Alright, hold on. When I'm not doing, like, active... It's weird to call you Ritsu, considering your name is not Ritsu. But I suppose that's how the cookie crumbles. I always forget to do this, but, like, when I'm not, like, actively playing 100% focus game, I'm doing good, I'm doing good. There you go, Olmec, have your... Ritsu, you stream? As well? Which you theoretically streamed 8 hours ago. I am aware from calls you Ritsu, but at the same time, your name is not Ritsu, so theoretically we shouldn't call you Ritsu. Where's my singular brain cell going? It's somewhere up here. Well, it's not that I have one brain cell, it's the rest of them are on strike permanently until I don't know, give them pay, but... You know what? I'm not paying my brain cells. They're supposed to do their work for free. Brain cell, yes. DC 15, if you don't know what DC to set something at, set it to 15 and hope for the best. That is called lazy DMing, but you know what? I'm not going to be smart all the time. Like, they've survived so much stuff and hardly been hurt. I think they can survive a... What's it called? Basement. Hi, Oni! Welcome in, thank you for the biddies. Okay, that definitely doesn't work as well. Actually, wait, is it? I'm so confused. Yeah, I don't think that works. It's supposed to do this every time I get thingamajig. But I guess I'll do it manually. You can watch me not be able to spell. Wait, oh yeah, you're still streaming. Oni, you're streaming. Pay attention to your own stream. Yeah. Hopefully our stream's going well, but yeah, welcome to your stream, Oni. Okay, cool. I'm glad 7TV emote. Well, 7. Is it 7TV? I don't know. The fancy emotes. Work on the chat up there. I need to actually get more of them because I have like 3 like channel ones. That seems like an appropriate thing to call it. It's magical runoff goop. Because, like, what else would it be? Right? I don't want to treat this, essentially. I could sort of treat it like a web spell that does damage. So like a black tentacle spell, but probably not that much damage. I think I'll count as you, like, going into it as getting you restrained, because it doesn't make any sense. And why invent a whole new set of rules if I can just reuse rules that exist? That might legitimately hurt a bit much, but... I mean, D&D time works weird because... I'll just go D6 and just put them in initiative, I think. Yeah, I think I'm just going to put them in initiative and do a D6 per round. Which should be fine, but that's just kind of to scare them a bit and just have something down there. So it's completely pointless. And then, like, there being evil magical runoff gives something. That's going fine. What's it called? It's a bit of a weird thing to prep because I don't want to move too far forward in the story because Blue doesn't want that well away, but it's fine with us still playing a session. So I kind of have to think of what is essentially a side/filler quest, and my current idea is... Well, first I needed to finish this bit, which I've been doing, because they just beat, like, their first major enemy and leveled up and all that, and they're now level 4 from level 3, because I refuse to start lower than level 3, and I also refuse to start at an even number, so level 3 is where I start. The even number part is just for multiclassing. You get, like, a different level spells on odd levels. So I always, like, especially with one-shots as well, I always start at an odd level. I think starting level 5 would be super mean for the people multi-class, but, like, if you're, like, level 6, then you could easily do 5 one class, 1 another, and basically suffer no downside. I mean, you're losing, like, a Phaeton fighter, but is, like, the major thing I can think. You're losing Aura of Protection and Paladin, actually, which is huge. Aura of Protection is possibly the best feature in the game, outside of, like, Wizard spellcasting. Aura of Protection is so good. I can't overrate it enough. Well, it really can't be overstated how... It's very hard to overstate how good Aura of Protection is. But outside of that, the stuff you get even levels tends not to be nearly as impactful as the stuff that you get odd levels, just because spells... Although 4th level spells aren't that big of a deal. Like, the fanciest one I can think of is Confusion. Is the one that's coming to brain. Actually, I think one of the new, like, Emanation spells is 4th level, which is pretty nice. It might be like Conjure Elementals. I know Conjure Minor Elementals. I think it's also 4th, but, like, they nerfed that a bit, and it's an action setup. And if you compare it to, like, Spirit Guardians and how many rounds are your combats lasting, etc., etc. This is me my D&D prep is largely me having an excuse to yap about D&D while doing some amount of prep. And suffer through making maps that don't look atrocious. Because I obviously with game being started up again, like my interest in D&D once again skyrocketed. Like I pretty much used to be able to tell you what like every feature for like every class did that was remotely relevant for 2014 rules. I knew then like all the optimization, like a lot of the optimization tech and that sort of stuff. I got really into the game from a game point of view, which was all fine because I was behind the screen. So like, what the hell was I gonna do with the only thing I could do with exploits is know they exist so they can't get abused. But no good player should sit down at a table and be like, cool, here's a funny exploit I'm just gonna sit down and use and not expect to get kicked from a table off if they try and pull that stuff off repeatedly. It's a social contract game, which makes it a much better game than pretty much any other one. Any other game without that isn't a social contract game. And there's no real adversary as well. Like, obviously the DM plays the adversaries, but like they're not your actual adversary, they're just there to vibe with you. I mean, I think that's good on loot, right? Couple magic items. Obviously the necromancer wizard enemy is going to have a wizardy item. Actually, I also wanted to give him an alchemy jug, just because it's a funny item and I want to see what they do with it. And technically, this is all in a bag of holding. So there we go. I've given him quite a lot of nice loot. Could have bribed him in early. But 2 of which are consumable, 1 of which is fully silly, 1 of which is a boring upgrade, and 1 of which is managing, and 1 of which is like you always just give out a bag of holding in your first quest because you don't want to have to deal with inventory management. I mean, it's a lot better digitally because it does encumbrance and stuff for you, but dealing with inventory management at the table, unless you want to make it its own mini game, like I've seen I've heard of people doing, it just sounds like a nightmare. And so I think the funny thing about putting it in a bag of holding is... Actually, can you just invert a bag of holding and get everything out? You probably can, right? Which is going to make this so much more boring. Okay, you can, but... Which means I should probably, at some point... Hoping this isn't the first thing they're gonna do. Think up a whole bunch of just random stuff that's inside the bag. In order to... Just in case they, like, invert it, just so we can... Just so I can have something funny happen. Alternatively, I put something like actually scary in there. Just in case they invert the bag, it's just bam, surprise. I think that's too mean. It would be so funny to put something like genuinely scary in there, like some sort of powerful undead or like a devil or something. But I think that's too mean, unfortunately. Do I do it anyway because it's funnier? No. I'm not gonna do it just because it's funny. What do I want to do with a suit of armor? I really am stumped on what to do with a, like, possessed suit of armor that's just now around. This is gonna show up later and be a problem as like a random encounter. That just feels unsatisfying. Maybe someone's like grabbed it and is using it as a weapon. Just kind of like a fire and forget type thing. and have to like somehow bind it and bring it back. That could be cooler as just like something to have as a callback for a powerful enemy. Honestly, considering they're not dealing with a goblin problem, we could make it like a although like Hobbs only really bother with evocation and abjuration magic, so having them do weird conjuration magic stuff doesn't make any sense. Could do a cult. Cults are never a bad idea. That sounds weird. Speaking of cults, bam. I have a Discord. Well, a shared Discord. Feel free to join. Feel free to not. I can't force you. But it exists. And if anyone scrolls down, despite my constant insistence for people to scroll down, read the doobly-doos. But that's a lot of text. I need a name for the further up settlement. That's the mining town. God, making names sucks. What's Kupfer's the name of what's it called? The local lord. Because this is a relatively, like, the minerals are new, so it wouldn't be named after that. It could be something like wood, and then that would just be ironic because they would have destroyed all the trees there, because it's now like a mining settlement. We'll get rid of that. We're gonna have Hi, welcome in. How you doing? Hopefully you're doing well. I am doing D&D prep, essentially. Glad to hear you're doing alright. Because hopefully I have a session later this week, which means I need to prep for it. And honestly, these prep sessions are... I gotta make content out of preparing, which is something, because I don't know, stream schedules, etc, etc. And it's also a good excuse for me to yap about D&D, because I love to do that, and I can steal ideas from chat, maybe. Because everything's already been thought of, it's just remixing it. Huh? I mean, honestly, not really. Like, obviously don't feel like you have to give ideas. Even if a text on screen says otherwise. I just... it's just the browser doesn't fit the dimensions unless I want full screen stuff, and that causes stuff to glitch out. So I just kind of go, whatever. Normally it would be the date of the next session, but I don't have a date of the next session, so. Or the disclaimer that we're going to get rules wrong, because my group's relatively new. We're all new to the edition, at least, the 2024 edition. Although name suggestions are always helpful, because I can't do names to save my life. Normally, like, you just steal them from wherever. I should go to a graveyard, and... well, not really grave robbing if I'm just writing down names, but I should go to a graveyard and write down names. I've said this before, which sounds awfully morbid, but like that's just what they used to do it back in the day. Oh, if at least GCSE English taught me something. Also, yeah, I'm gonna make him a copper dragonborn, so he's a copper, which is so terrible. And I think one of my players will just murderize me because she is so sick of my terrible, terrible puns. No, I'm happy to listen for any ideas. Do let me know if I'm talking too quick or just being too rambly. I am quite like that. Honestly, any ideas I'll take. Even if I don't use them, it's just like, it's fun to discuss concepts and ideas. I'm more lamenting how hard it is to get names without just stealing them from somewhere else and hoping that people don't recognize them. I have tried going down to, I will get root parts of words, but then you get stuff which is really hard to pronounce. It's just something I need to work on, like as a world builder / DM, just naming things and people. And all sorts of things. I have a bit of an odd conundrum. Like, I have an idea. Essentially, last session, they defeated a necromancer lady who was going on about the return of this defeated great evil having returned. Just going, he has returned, he shall return. And they've defeated him. Unfortunately, fortunately for them, one of the players is on holiday and doesn't really want us to do anything too main plotty. So my current idea was, presumably they head back to town. I've had, like, there be a consistent goblin problem. The players just aren't interested, and, you know, I'm not going to railroad them. If they're not interested in a plot point, they're not interested in a plot point. So I'm just going to drop that, essentially, and if they randomly decide to do that, they can randomly decide to do that. They're going to go back, presumably. I'm going to have, like, one of them might have caused a really bad impression when they first came into town. But I'm going to have local law enforcement sheriffy guy be like, you know, good job cleaning up these cubers, here's a reward. Or something along those lines. Level 4 now. They were level 3, they've just leveled up. So unfortunately, no throwing them at, like, an ancient red dragon or any fun stuff like that. But, these relatively new players, so best not start too high level. But I also refuse to start a level lower than 3. Because you get your subclass at level 3. And thus actually feel like your character. But it also gives you some tier 1 play. Which I don't think is anyone's favourite part of D&D, but I don't want to drop new players in at level 5. How much did the Hydra get nerfed? Hold on, let me get this. I mean, it's CR8, so I don't think 4 of them could. I mean, maybe it can, I mean, Hydra starts with 5 heads, and plus 8 to hit, 10 damage per hit. That easily one rounds most of the characters, which tends to be like what you need to look out for. Like outside of, I mean, so let's say to hit, so that's like a 50% chance to hit. They could dice going a bit their way could easily one round about. Well, I guess that's not easily. The Hydra currently has 184 hit points. And if it takes 25 damage in a single thing, and unless it's taken fire damage, it regains 20 hit points and grows 2 heads. But like, the fact that base has 5 heads means this thing's just stomping out damage, making it kind of terrifying. Because yeah, that's starting off with the potential to do. Yeah, I mean, that's also, it's a Hydra. I could just down a couple heads, and then there's always players can't see the stat blocks for what's it called, the HP bars for monsters, so you can just mess around with that a bit behind the scenes. Because my current idea is to have Sheriffy Mefella give them some sort of filler quest. I was just thinking bandits, because like that's like the sort of low level stuff you do, but honestly I'll take something more interesting than just bandits. You know, hopefully they take that quest, do that, prove, because again, initially pretty terrible impression in the area, because they kind of started off by like yoinking, well, one of the players started off by like yoinking stuff and threatening and like being all around annoying. So essentially do this, I'll compensate for you for it. I'll put in a good word. I've already put in a good word with the Lord for dealing with the undead problem. Hi, welcome in. How you doing, Ryman? I assume it's Ryman. Or Ryman or Ryman, one of the two, depending on if you just sort of slur the end of it. I might just call you Rye for the sake of simplicity. Well, it's rhyme. I can't read. I mean, I famously can't read. Hopefully you're not in that jail. You might be in that jail. No, go for it. I'm currently doing the behind-the-scenes prep work, but I'll happily answer any questions you have. Because this is mostly just chatting while I also do some D&D prep, rather than actual D&D. But I tag as D&D because it's probably just slightly better. And I am technically doing D&D, which is the best type. I'm technically correct, which is the best type of correct. Yeah, if you ever follow Jody Discord, etc., if you want to know when I'm live and when I'm doing stuff. Yeah, no worries. Jail. Run. Yeah. Well, half the time Agile isn't real, which confuses me, to be honest. Ooh, hags are an interesting idea. Because there is quite rural. It could be like a, you know, someone's just, kids sort of like gone missing type shtick. right? And they can't get any information out of it. And they have to sort of do a little investigation, track down, because, like, someone sold off their child to a hag for some sort of favory thing. And then they can go fight the hag to get a kid back, but or they can deal with the person. Yeah. Also, I'm gonna assume you're Vamp Jager. I'm just gonna call you Vamp if that's all right, for simplicity's sake. Yeah. It's also getting to your rhyme. It's kind of unfortunate with people not wanting to play with newbies, because how else do you get more people to play D&D with if you're not willing to play with newbies? If you've got like IRLs you can coax into it, like what I did is I just learned to run the thing. It's kind of what one has to do if I don't have peoples around, unfortunately. Maybe one day I will do like... Okay, welcome back, Vamp. Hags... I was saying hags could be an interesting thing. Especially because that could be like a disappearance type thing to sort of set on to... Actually, I'd have the sheriff be like really snooty about it. I was like, oh yeah, I bet you can't sell this, you know, do this, and you know, I may have something actually something like pretty profitable for you to deal with, but I bet you can't, sort of type shtick. Which is just like sod them off, because like they've made a really bad impression when they rolled into town for the first time. And then that could be like a deal to trade a kid with hags, and they can go rescue the kid and potentially have to deal with fighting a hag and it's sort of like hurt. Or, you know, if I can deal with whatever's going on with the person and whatever their backstory is and whatever reasons they had to be willing to sell a child to a hag for, you know, it could be like tragic illness, curse, summoning devils to fight something. Who knows, really? All of which could be, I like that idea. I like that idea actually quite a lot. Yeah, we might have lost rhyme to the ads. I might steal this as a future plot point. Yeah, feel free to give your ideas. Because also in Alan, I mean that's a lot of D&D. In also these lovely like icon chibis were made by Lyosa. We should be in the recommended things, but I get it. Also, I really should burn the doobly-doos for assisting with that. But up here is Gamble, which is a province essentially ran by a druidic council, unlike down here in Greylor, so that could actually tie in quite well with essentially fake druids. I'm gonna plonk that. Let's control Z. Control Shift. I'm gonna plonk that down there because that's actually quite fun. Because like hags do not, you know, do deals on like a base level. I mean, yeah. Oh, I don't think I could be able to run for 8. Like 6 for me is pushing it, but like I also kind of, as in, like, I don't think I'd want to run for more than 6. I mean, I'm very used to running for low numbers of players because of largely me and few IRLs, and then life happens, and it's often me running for like 3, sometimes 2. Because initially a group of 4, one person started running for different groups, and then went down to 3. So like, yeah, I was running with like loads of 2. This group is 5 people. I'm currently running for. Maybe if I ever do like some fancy big celebration, or like a debut type thing, or like a donathon or something like that, I can running community thing. Yeah, I mean, it's always worth experimenting, right? Um, yeah, 3 to 6 is probably optimal. Although, like, there's a sort of more the merrier because with scheduling, it means, like, you can still have a good number of people. Like, going down from 3 to 2 is, like, quite a big deal, especially on, like, the balancing back end of things. Meanwhile, going from, like, 6 to 5 is significantly less of a deal. And your party dynamic will still be quite intact. Which is actually the reason why that other ran for quite a big group. Because it was, like, 6. Because I think running for 6 would be pretty hectic, but, like, how often are you going to get 6 people to agree on a date and a time? That's the neat part. You're not. So it just kind of lets you be silly with that, which is quite funny. I might steal the hag thing for, like, a later thing, because I actually do like the idea of hag trickery and them pretending to be druids, especially given, like, the local environment. And also because I think the quest after this I want to do is because it's going to be quite a bit of deforestation and industrial, like, making a proper mining village, etc., etc. I'm going to have it so that it is an extreme branch of druids who are causing problems with, like, the trade flows and stuff, and that's what they're going to get, like, sent on after this current, like, filler 50 boop. I could still go down the whole magical deals route, and so I do kind of like the idea of an investigation. To do with something, because it's also, like, a bit of a different vibe than just go fight, etc., etc. So it's like some sort of, like, fun pacty D-Lima Bob could work well, which would then let me there was yeah, but the village made a deal with a druid circle that was secretly hags, but the hags had made a deal with some other type of fiend for power, so if the hags were sacrificing villages to the devil who was creating an army. Deals upon deals. Then presumably, if it forged druids, it could be like... Well, hacks will sometimes just ask for really weird stuff as well, which just leads to, like, a chain of events, which leads to something horrid. But, like, honestly, just taking people every now and then, or, like, saying that people need to, like, provide tribute at a shrine, and then on the way to the shrine / on the way back, they just yoink someone because, you know, people have to, every now and then, they have to pick a champion to go, or, like, some fair individual, etc., etc., whatever, like, weird hag term they want to use, they have to go, and then some of the time they just don't return, and they've just been napping them as sacrifices for someone else. Which probably works as a bit of a high-level quest, rather than it just being, like, what's it called? Rather than just being, like, green hags. If we're dealing with fiends, it's likely to be, like, night hags, and that gets a bit high-level, probably. But I do kind of like the idea of it being, like, yeah, they're going to provide tribute to a forest spirit type thing. It's like, that's what they think of the Kingdom of the Ruse, and then they just kidnap people every now and then and provide them as a sacrifice to another guy to give them more power. Or, like, for whatever they're getting from the other guy to further their ends, and then they're using the sacrifices to help them as well. I actually really like that, because that's so convoluted in a way. Go to pro. Because, yeah, they're probably, like, you know. I mean, heck, the thing might be is the hags were causing a problem initially, and then they pretend to be druids to solve the problem, and keep it away, with the need of there to be, like, you know, provide tribute to the whatever shrine in which they just kidnap people every now and then because it's not an easy trek. But, like, yeah, if they, like, go and deal with the druids they have this deal with, or investigate that, they're not going to be happy, because, like, there could be, like, some cursed rot or something. That the hags initially caused, but are now pretending to be druids to protect it from, and they're actually, you know, protecting them from the rot that they're technically causing, which makes them indebted to these druids. Especially considering there are, like, fancy druids around. This is very proximal. Yeah, exactly. And it's just this whole grand scheme of they've scammed these villagers into... I mean, they're also going to be giving them stuff, right? They're not going to kill them every time they go to send tribute, so they are just giving, like, random belongings, which who knows what hags are going to do with. Cherished items, memoirs of loved ones, and every now and then they will just yoink someone, because they can. Or they can use this ruse to, like, say they're going to go train someone up to be a druid with them if they desire, and then, you know, they just turn them into another hag, or they do just sacrifice them. Yeah, something like that, you know. It's just like, oh wow, you know, we're so grateful, please come join us, you know. That sort of thing. And, like, especially if there's devils or demons involved, it could actually be, like, some sort of, like, sacrificial possession thing. So they're getting, like, this, like, demonic, devilish muscle out of it as well. Right? Getting fancy goodies / sometimes snapping clothes to go as... protect against magic rot brackets bad hags caused. Yeah, or at least initially, right? Because, like, it's gonna take a while for anyone to realize that the rot's not coming back. In fact, it's you know, what the hag's there to cause the problem. If it's, like, deals and shenanigans, it's probably devils. Because devils are the contracty type, and I love devils in games. Like, any opportunity I can to, like, give the party an imp or something just to be, you know, like, this literal devil on the shoulder saying, yes, yes, kill him, do it now. I will take. For infernal muscly. And I could, like, introduce, like, conceptually these sorts of dealy business. Yeah. I mean, devils always have stuff to trade, and, like, even if you're, like, a... Okay, my model's frozen. Well, it's probably unfrozen by the time you're hearing this. It just freezes sometimes. I do not understand why. Like, thank you, Studio. Like, even like a chain devil will have spine devils under its command. And those things are CR2, they're nasty, right? Not like a chain devil's particularly nasty itself. It's like CR5. Not that CRs are great. Determiner of strength. Okay, a chain devil CR8. It's relatively scary actually, but like the point and reigns. There's like barb devils. It's quite funny, but the barb, like they've now, I don't think barb devils used to like grapple on a hit, but now they do, which is quite funny because they always had the, oh, if you've been grappled by one, you take damage. Yeah, no, this could totally work, especially because I think, again, this spin-off session I might legitimately do, you know, because they've dealt with a necromancer. It makes sense to give them, like, this cold case where, like, someone's disappeared and there's traces of magic all over it, but I can't crack the case because I'm, no, like, wizardy mabob. And then I'll have a real good deal, and that will transition into, essentially violent climate activism, like aggressive birding because of destruction of nature, because there's a new mine set up, which there's a whole bunch of lore behind that, being that the current king's dying and one of the great houses of the country is potentially gonna make a play for the throne, and thus they're importing steel down a river they have control of, and thus, despite being in the same province as the royal house, this place is, now that they can get a higher price for the amount of ore they have under the mountains, they've just been, you know, exporting iron down to Renfrew, which is the name of the other major house. And the third major house, Windborn, are off being sad because of the big tragedy. There was a big fire in the capital of their main city. So that was a big tragedy, and they're just busy being sad at the moment. So they're being a recluse. Current king's dying, and you've got an ambitious. One of the main houses is feeling very ambitious. And no one really likes the current crown prince very much. And then the secondborn doesn't have the whole divine right sorcery shtick, because like throughout history there's the whole royal blood, divine right to rule, and then there's also sorcerers in D&D who can be magical bloodlines. So I've just sort of crossed the two, where like your divine right to rule can, you know, when you can shoot fireballs because your dad was your dad, it feels a lot more divine righty to rule than if you couldn't shoot fireballs out your hands for having it because your dad was your dad. So that's how I do that, and he didn't inherit that sorceress power, and thus isn't eligible for the throne in that way. And that also caused a problem in the neighboring kingdom. But like that's an entirely different kettle of lawfish. But yeah, if I introduce the concepts of like, the whole magical pacty stuff, I mean, we have a warlock, but we haven't delved too much into their pact because new players, I don't want to overwhelm them with too much stuff they have to do beforehand. So I do like, and also I want devils in my games. Devils are so fun, and like I've kind of introduced devils. Well, that would be a fun concept. I think. What's his name? I'm gonna have to get up a document, and I do have like 2 browsers open at the moment. Although that'd be warlock power, which is slightly different, but I suppose that could actually. Like, that's a legitimately good thought. I haven't thought about, but I would assume he supports his older brother's ambitions for the throne because, like, he can just chill in the background and not have that be a problem. Because I've just sort of established him to just be a relatively reasonable individual. Instead of match right duel, for instance. Yeah. I mean, just like high-level politics stuff. But either way, so essentially, currently in charge is House Greylor. They have control of the army, and King Morholt Greylor is sick, and he's not because of like any magical illness. He's just a really old guy. He's taken the country through multiple crises, and due to his wise rule, it hasn't fractured. First Prince Yvain Greylor is a prick. What's written in the thing. And Bedivere Greylor, the second born, is not supported by divine right. And I don't have. I guess I haven't, like, in our notes, driven too far into the personalities of the two. I mean, presumably, if you're set up in that sort of thing, you just sort of become a wizard if you don't inherit it. So presumably he would have magical powers of his own. He's just, like, it's not the right type of magical power. Because, like, you have to have a bloodline power. And meanwhile, Yvain, which apparently is his name, I have no idea what that means. To hit armor class 0. Blah, blah, blah. This is like a second edition thing. Or could be like the preceded route and be a sort of clerical figure. I'm honestly not sure. It might be in the notes somewhere. This is not like exclusively my world. I started it way back in like 2016, which is why there's some terrible, terrible names and like bits and bobs around. Like a major political figure in the world is named after like a chemistry teacher I had. As like a bit between me and like some of my IRLs. But like now there's multiple people like doing the world building and stuff. And also like the whole, because also Sorcerer was all the craze back in the day. Like, yeah, become a holy warrior, magically powerful sorcerer, and just like be like the optimized cheese death machine. I'm gonna be honest, I haven't delved into previous editions, partially because I haven't been bothered to learn stuff, and also partially because like the massive success of 5e had sort of brought in people, and it's just a game I started with. I'm still getting used to 2024. I hate how they didn't call this a new edition, or like 5.5 or 6th edition. It would have been fine, but no, they just called them both 5th edition. So, ow my brain, why did they do this? Now everyone has to specify 24 or 40, 2024 or 2014, which is so dumb. Yeah, although I'm not running with any of the, like, A, for my bank account, and B, for simplicity. I am not running with, like, any of the old, like, any of the 2014 stuff. I'm just running 2024. That way I don't have to buy more books, and it's just more simple, less options. So every class has 4 subclasses, and there's only, like, a handful of species. I do think the change from race to species is possibly one of the smartest things they've done. Because it's both more correct, as well as it avoids icky implications. Yeah, I mean, I personally like dungeons, but like the game is like it's sort of changed and metamorphosized. Feels like I'm being very pedantic and video essay-ish about it, right? Because like the game's a lot less about like full crunch and dungeons and survival, and it's a 20-foot long pole to tap stuff with to make sure you don't get blown to smithereens, and like those really fun old-timey Rube Goldberg machines where, like, fist would lead to fist, and, like, it's a genuine skill to detect if floors are slanting downwards because you're going further down and thus experiencing deadlier monsters. Like, I'm not saying any of that's bad, and I still love, like, throwing, like, a good old-fashioned, here's a big dungeon crawl, just combats and traps and all sorts of, like, horrible death stuff, especially in, like, a one-shot or something. I think that's the perfect time to do that sort of stuff. Yeah. I mean, they kind of just, like, plonked that on the settings, which I get why they've done that, but, like, some of the changes of default flavoring I'm not 100% down with. Like, what happened to Hobgoblins, but now to kind of back in the DMG, which, I mean, sorry, the Monster Manual, which is slightly confusing, and then obviously there's the whole, like, kerfuffle around orcs. I'm not going to get into the kerfuffle around orcs. I've decided that, at least as far as Twitch is aware, I'm just not going to think about it. Like, I have lore on how orcs work in, Mytham, which is the world I run in. It's a homebrew world. But I'm just not going to touch on that while streaming because I just don't want to get into it. Yeah, I mean, the rules for half, and, like, half-elf is gone, but, like, you just choose one of the two, and if that means we get more, like, for the unique species in the book, I'm not going to complain. It's like, the rules for half-orc is just human or orc, and, like, orcs in the player's handbook, which is a bit weird, but, like, it's fine, honestly. I don't feel like orc and half-orc technically needed separate rules, and, like, I am very big flavor is free camp, where if it roughly lines up with the mechanics, do whatever you want. Like, you know, if you have two hands free, I don't care what you're hitting them with, it can be a greatsword. Just because your character is up to your creativity more than, like, what the physical thing says. Like, yeah, if your image says, I want to be wielding a great axe, but a greatsword is strictly superior in the rules, I'm not saying it is. I don't know what weapon mastery property a great axe has, to be honest. It's probably cleave, in which a greatsword is probably superior 90% of the time. Especially with how I run critical damage. Actually, no. It was only, like, better because of brutal critical, which was a terrible barbarian feature, which they got rid of. Yeah, there could just be an art to make, because, like, mega dungeons are sort of, like, not 100% a thing, and, like, exploration is not given the rules and, like, support that it needs to be a pillar of a game. Like, D&D is supposed, you know, 3 pillars of D&D are supposed to be combat, social, and exploration, and, like, 90% of the rules about combat. Social, everyone runs differently, but is consistently a massive part of D&D for, like, 90% of Fables, I'd imagine. And exploration is kind of just, the best way I found to run it is just do a skill challenge, and I like skill challenges because they're fun and interesting. Hi, welcome in, Scarlet. Let me give you a shout out because that's something I'm trying to remember to do. Yeah. I do wish there were more rules for it, and it's, like, entirely down to, like, DM creativity. On the exploration for D&D. Again, I like skill challenges because it, A, puts a lot of creativity in, like, you just think up a interesting situation, or, like, a situation where they would need to do stuff. But, and then, like, the players pretty much decide, and you set the DC depending on how good their justification is. Right, like, if you're trying to navigate a forest, you could very easily make a justification that nature or survival would help you. It's a bit harder to do something like athletics or acrobatics. History, maybe you're charting historical, you know, pathways through this forest, which would be harder still. And, like, you know, how on earth are you going to... But you can't persuade the trees to let you pass for the most part. So, like, no, I'm not letting you do that. I'm doing good. What? Hopefully you're doing well as well. / how are you? I'm kind of yapping about Dungeons and Dragons. This is theoretically D&D prep. I mean, to be fair, we do kind of ignore the way socials. What's it? Social in the rules. There are rules for social encounters. We kind of just ignore them and use skill checks. But there are rules for it. If you're new and you don't really know what you're doing as a DM, and like I started DMing before I ever played, because I was the person in the friend group who wanted to play D&D and thus learned all the rules and learned how to DM and ran D&D. I think for people like that, it would be super useful. And like honestly, just pointers to get you started. Because like in the new DMG, the like example given for exploration is like a couple skill checks, essentially, and it's not that inspiring or anything. I mean, I think like random encounters and like not limiting your random encounters to combat, having like cool things you can find because the world is innately magical and filled with whimsy and wonder. I am safe, which makes them like pseudo random encounters, I suppose. But if you have just a list of cool stuff that can happen, like I remember yoinking a road encounter from D&D Beyond, which I misread the name of the devil, and they've just sort of had him as a companion for quite a long time. And like I think what was the first player character death was yeah, I mean, you know, I'm not gonna simp for a company. It's a company at the end of the day. Their job is shareholder value or whatever. So minimum money in, maximum money out. That's what they want to do. And like we know what they want to do because that's what companies, if you're a publicly traded company, that's what you legally have to do. So yeah. I'll give them credit where credit's due. Like True Strike Dispel being from the worst thing in existence to being such a cool and fun option. Like, that's credits where credit's due. The fact I didn't change the shield spell, I'm sorry, what are you... Or, like, the fact that you still, if you're casting a spell with verbal and somatic components, but not material components, you can't use your hand that has your material components to do those somatic components. I'm... honestly haven't thought about the queen. I might assume that she's already dead. Presumably given the setup. And I'll assume it must be then 2 children. From the situation, because we haven't... Yeah. And the reason... Okay, there's also, like, some amount of bitterness. Because... there's a big crisis happening, and the first prince used as an opportunity in command of the army to do a bit of a land grab against what would be, well, like previously considered an ally, but like everyone else was doing a land grab, so they did a bit of a land grab, and that's really created some enmity around. And it's not that like the second prince is considered useless; it's just they're not considered fit to be king. Still allowed to hold like powerful office and. That one of the cool things they actually have done in the DMD, again, credits where credit's due, is like a lot of like the cooler endgame enemies. They have like weaker versions, so you can use them at lower CRs and like lower level things. Like there's Death Knights, and there's Death Knight Aspirant who's at like CR 11 or something. Like that's cool. I like that. And like if you're running really high level, you get to have one of them and like a mini one of them, and that's just cool. We haven't got to like big bad end guy status. There's a couple like spooky entities around who could fit that sort of role, or it could just be someone new. Just because I've ran a 1 to 20 in this world, and like there's quite a few very negative consequences around from it. And also, if the queen's dead, there's no reason that she couldn't be undead, right? But just assume, considering we haven't like thought about her, and the king's dying of old age, the easy explanation is the queen died of old age. Also, like, I'm pretty sure back in third they didn't have concentration, so you can kind of just spam whatever spells you want. But concentration's a good counter gap to it. So that you can't just have fly, invisibility, blend, etc, etc. Drunken. I like. I try not to have it that NPCs follow party around because then it gets like the NPC territory. Although, you know what a good DMPC is called? It's called an NPC. It's a non-player character that you just they have kidnapped and essentially turned into one of them, and you don't want to run them in the party because that's extra effort. But like you're kind of stuck with it because like the party wants them, and it's like okay, fine, I guess you can have your, you know, your tragic wizard in your party who I have to run because none of you guys are learning on wizard stuff. So I don't want to run him. I try to kill him. I try to kill him a lot. This was my last campaign. We started with Lost Mines of Fendelven. I think in like 50% of Lost Mine campaigns, I imagine, well, like at least a solid 30, they try and redeem and grab Nesna, who is the drow evil wizard, who's the enemy from that. I sort of mean by like from 3 and 3.5 to 5th, like that was a little roll-in, but to my very limited knowledge of the older editions of D&D, you just what's it called? It was like a classic case of like high-level spellcasters are just like you win the game, but good luck getting there. I mean, listen, if you're a kobold, I'm sure you don't have much access to good literature, so you're going to read that spellbook back to front enough times to just learn how to do it. You're casting spells with nothing but, like... And, like, you know, you run D&D for a while, and, like, well, like, you play D&D for a while, and you just get all the wacky character concepts. Like, you start out, like, relatively serious, and then stuff just becomes silly, and it's wonderful. Noted. I think an annoying thing with 2014 to 2024, what's it called? The martial spellcaster divide got worse because the loss of power attacks, especially at the low levels, is huge. At, like, technically the end game levels, like, cool, I would take the +6 damage well, not really even, because it was like -5 for +10, and it was like archery or like reckless attack. But like the classes got better in general. Pour one out for the mediocrity that is the new ranger, not from a spellcasting point of view. They're still a spellcaster, they're fine for the most part. They're a half-caster, right? They're not a martial in like the traditional sense of the word. But like rip range damage dealers, except from like, it still works, it's just nowhere near as good because rip, crossbow expert, sharpshooter, archery, fighting style, hand crossbow, pew 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 pew. And I guess one of the other like big complaints I have is, I mean, yes, brilliant. Sage advice can... Wait, hold up, I forgot something. Please tell me that's the right button. I think I hit the wrong button. I'm gonna... Yep, that's the wrong button. This is the right button. Because obviously, like, I've Steam stream delay and seeing myself, hey, I've got my DM screen. I completely lost my thought, I'm gonna be honest. Also, new magic initiate, yeah, let's give every non-arcane spellcaster access to shield that they can cast with spell slots for free at the start of game. Well, I guess opportunity cost, but like, and make Warcaster a half feat because all the level 4 up feats are half feats. I do have, there's some complaints I have with, well, there's a decent list of complaints I have with 2024, but like also, it's kind of, like, you play D&D because it's the tabletop RPG everyone plays at the same time. Like, I love the game, and I love like the mechanics of the game, but it's also that I haven't really spent time to absorb myself in another one because I don't get to play D&D that much. Why would I learn an entire different game system just to try it out and have an even harder time organizing it? I assume it's the same thing with tabletop wargaming and Warhammer. Although, like, I'm a decent amount of Warhammer lore nerd. Not, like, I don't... For Warhammer people, I know nothing, but, for not Warhammer people, I know way too much. I think that's just the case of Warhammer full stop, to be honest. But, it's like, you want to play a tabletop wargame, you're probably playing Warhammer because that's probably what's around. Maybe Bolt Action. But, like, you know, I'd say it's the same thing of D&D. Maybe Pathfinder of Call of Cthulhu. And I suppose this whole 5.5 5th edition split doesn't really help. The first investigating disappearance / murder. When will it have happened? What was the deal made for, like, infernal power? And what sort of shenaniganery is going on here to have caused it? So, like, with the hag initial idea, but I want to save the hags for later because I actually really like the idea of that quest. And now I really want to make it something more interesting than just bandits, because bandits are kind of boring, as easy as it would be to recycle stuff. And I kind of want to be a bit of a magical problem. I kind of dislike how some stuff kept there, like resistances / immunities to bludgeoning, piercing, slashing. Well, it's just like resistances, but lycanthropes didn't. Which you can probably tell where my thoughts are going. It could be a desperate pact to get control of the lycanthropy, which could be demonic rather than infernal. Because these pacts are always moving to, like, just to get control of it, but, like, rather than it being, yeah, you don't have to go around and murder people, it can be a... What's it called? Like, the curse has completely consumed them, so, like, now they're, like, actual... Although that does kind of break the whole thing. I could have... Maybe, like, I need to increase the priority on the thing. That gives you above normal priority. That should be good enough. Yeah, I like that. Maybe it's... No, I feel something wrong. My favorite class to... Like, as in, like, conceptually or to play. Typically, my favorite class to play is Bard. I mean, I am slightly addicted to multiclassing, but just a combination of being a spellcast, you know, you're a full spellcaster, plus all of the skill business you get, and your charisma base is kind of huge. Like, our Bard's strongest class in the game depends on your ratio of exploration, combat, and social, right? It's the actual answer to what's the best class in the game. But I think in a pretty typical game, the wizard is the strongest class in the game. But if you have like more social, Bard has an easy argument to be the strongest class in the game. Which is fair enough. I just still think it's the wizard. But I think Bard might be my favorite class because it's just... I think a lot of the fun of D&D comes from the roleplay, interacting with NPCs, social side. And also, to be fair with how halfcasters now give rounded up, not rounded down. Like, Paladin 1, Bard X is probably really good. Because you get heavy armor, and like if you're doing like a strength-based Valor Bard, that probably is really good. You can get Smite if you want it. Obviously, Smite's a bit less the guy than it used to be. But it's still good. You know, burst damage is still burst damage, and if you land a crit, you know, no. And like bonus action attacks aren't as important as they used to be. So it's not like using a bonus action to smite's a bad use of your bonus action. And also there's that like whole, yes, I am inspiring my allies to fight alongside me type shtick. And like, it's really tempting to leave Paladin at level 6, right? Like, you get your Aura of Protection. It's very tempting to leave. It's very tempting to stay, because level 7's a subclass feature, and level 8 is ASI. And then, like, at level 8, you may as well go to 11 to get your improved Divine Smite to get extra radiant damage in every hit. And if you're level 11, you know, so on and so forth, right? But I think Charisma base is just huge, and honestly... No, if you're playing a Paladin, you're probably locking in... what's it called? At least if you're point buying, which most people don't do, but if you ask to point buy, I'm sure like basically everyone on the planet would let you. You're probably locking in 17 strength, 16 charisma. I mean, I think the main Paladin feature is Aura of Protection. But, like, it's the whole just putting one level on a Bard is more just, like, that's your dip. Because you always want armor, and you really kind of don't want deck saves. Like, deck saves are the worst of the 3 important saves, because it's pretty much always just save or take damage. Meanwhile, Wisdom saves are mind control, and Constitution saves are concentration. Or, like, poisons. Or... what's it called? Petrification. So con saves, super important on a caster. Wisdom saves, super important. Deck saves happen a lot, but it's just avoid damage. And don't get me wrong, damage can kill you, but compared to, like, being stunned, which... Owie. That was just rude. Why would you do that, my love? I guess it does become hard to multiply that up Paladin, but, like, level 6 is the big feature. Like, that's why you're in Paladin. Aura of Protection, plus 5, like plus 4 probably at the level you get it. Like plus 3, plus 4, plus 5 to everyone within 10 feet saves of all save types. Huge. Yes, I've heard of a gelatinous cube. We love gelatinous cubes. I'm the number... I love gelatinous cubes as like a pit trap type thing. Also like kind of subclass dependent. Like obviously the capstone features for paladins are subclass dependent and honestly huge. Like Aura of Devotion, really good. Aura of Alacrity, very good. Aura of Warding, very good. Relentless Avenger is the only one that's like pretty skippable. To be honest, when it comes to Paladin's improved auras. But like, if you're wanting to like play a Sorcerer, is that like the weird like non-Newtonian slime concept where you have to roll low to hit it because it hardens to you when you smack it? It's quite funny. Definitely something to throw against a higher level party than a lower level party. Have you heard the tragedy of the biggest twice? What did you just mean, bat? What's that mean? That's a squeaky hammer that you smacked me with. It's not a bat. I used to know the whole tragedy of Darth Plagueis the Wise off by heart. Again, that was GCSE times, you know. Better times, and then COVID happened and all that. Which was fine for me, minus the whole long COVID shtick. That was miserable, but it was great until me having family working in healthcare inevitably led to me getting COVID. But got to play so much Minecraft, which is great fun. I was gonna steal one of the Seven Sages' names. That's what I was gonna do. I was gonna call him. I'm not calling him Bronius. That's the name I was gonna use, but that doesn't work. I'm not gonna call him Gorm. Gorm is a Zinzoan. I'm not gonna. You don't know. These are bad names for I've determined. I wanted to steal the Seven Sages' names, but I'm not gonna do it. Yeah, what's good. I've heard the concept of this whole non-Newtonian slime monster, where the harder you smack it, the worse, the harder it is for you to hit it. So you need to roll low. But I suppose that is similar, but not the same. Essentially. What's... Okay, I'm going to refresh that browser because that one's being a bit silly. Yeah, makes sense. Oh, okay, so like as the fight goes on, it just gets higher AC. That makes sense. Similar concept, but obviously not the same. Does like seem like the fun sort of like puzzle monster essentially. A werewolf is probably too weak to be like a solo thing. Wereboar is all to do with greed. And werebears are the whole protecting nature mabob. I feel like lycanthropes should be scarier than they are. Yeah, because, like, even on all of the sources, the scariest... It's not that they got rid of a weakness to silver, it's they got rid of its damage immunities. Because, yeah. Van Richten's Guide to Ravenloft had... scarier, but, like, that's gone. Where Jaguar exists. I mean, I could just homebrew up something to be a bit stronger. Like, the whole lack of the whole silvered thing is kind of annoying. I mean, yeah, you can... Honestly, if I'm just buffing one up, I can just... I think complete immunity is a bit much. But honestly, if I give it resistance to all the not silvered stuff... Like, my party has such good ways around... bludgeoning, piercing, and slashing damage that I won't really... Hey, I could give it the immunity back and I wouldn't really do anything, honestly. Although it was non-magical or non-silvered, right? I mean, you could do it as, like, it's immune to... non-magical... Well, it resists magical and is immune, and what's it called? And takes regular from silvered. But, like, they no longer do make that distinction. I mean, like, cocoa beans aren't from, like, a European continent, and, like, medieval fantasy tends to be, well, medieval Europe, right? So, even as if there's chocolate around. Like, there's no Amazon rainforest in generic medieval fantasy. I might just buff the hell out of a werewolf. Like, should chocolate be a thing, it would be like a fine delicacy that only the richest would be able to, you know, get their hands on, right? I mean, what's a hero's feast if not, like, a stack of, chocolate cake? Chocolate cake's good. Chocolate cake's really good. Like, I don't actually like chocolate as chocolate that much, but I really do like chocolatey things. Which doesn't make much sense, but it do be like that. Is there something about, like, why silver is a problem for werewolves? Yeah, I am. Sorry, I am just reading about werewolves right now. Silent lycanthropy. Werewolves supposedly immune to damage, but ordinary when vulnerable. I need silver, such as silver tip, yada yada. Negative silver is sometimes so strong that a touch of burns. Silver bullets. Stuff about the funny, not so funny mustache man. So that just appears to have randomly appeared at some point. Whole terrible divine curse. Oh, am I muted or am I thought it's just like not yapping for a bit. Also, theoretically we're in ad jail, so it doesn't matter too much. Okay, we should be back from our jail anyway. So I was just reading about werewolves, well, the Wikipedia page, and like another thingamajig. I probably could have put it on this screen so you could at least know what I was doing. I do like the idea of one of the villagers being a werewolf, and they've made like some sort of pact in order to get control of the power, but like it's an over time thing, right? So it's sort of like they need to get the thing, but for now they'll have like the power to do it, and now they're having to do / maybe they're still not even aware of it. They just like made a pact to get rid of it, and thus it's for it being like the werewolf half is fulfilling its side of the pact to get rid of or get control of the curse, and it's doing all sorts of nasties with the other person just thinking they're free without really knowing what's going on and what the terms of the deal were. Although that gets very complicated. I was thinking that, but like I don't, with one of the players missing and them specifically like not wanting too much main plotty stuff wanting to happen, so like I'm trying to like think of like a quick one session side quest type prove themselves to Mr. Lawman type shtick at the moment. So I don't really want to touch on what the undead are doing too much at the moment. But also kind of rampaging anyway. They weren't really that like put on a leash. But there is like a theoretical infernal suit of armor just wandering around slaughtering. Because there's this fancy knight guy and they desecrated, like they could under like some sort of divine shield so they can be turned undead. So they just desecrated his armor and stuffed devil in it and called it a day. Yeah. If someone's just like disappeared off, there's been like a brutal disembowelment, and like the pact could have just been like, I want a week of your time and then you'll have control of your power. And essentially in this week they have just getting all the violence and carnage out of this Lycan person as much as possible. I'm going to buff up a lycanthrope because one werewolf does not make a party thing, especially because they have like pack tactics and stuff, and that requires other things. I might just say like screw it. I might paragon the werewolf, which is it's essentially 2 werewolves in one, which kind of would trigger. Yes, I've got a Gulok in my party. Great old one. Like, the bludgeoning, piercing, slashing resistance is easily overcome because we've got a... I haven't... It's on the list. I do actually need to bug my players, like, send a bunch of DMs, because, like, I just sort of, like, got it rolling, because everyone, like... It's annoying to try and wrangle people, because everyone's a streamer here as well, and they all have their own life stuff. I do need to bug everyone in their own channels about like a couple backstory details, because I said it was like we just get a skeleton to get this thing rolling. I do need to actually get to people and start fleshing out their backstory stuff, but that would be a good idea if I had done that. But I forgot. You know, I think I'll write this stuff down of like the actual stuff I need to bug these people about for like specifics. Let's do this in alphabet. So, Mina. I think in alphabetical it is white. Darkest. Mina, blue. Orsa. Wes and this is just. Whoop. Whoop. Story, buggery. Now I'm gonna need to open Discord, which will cause stuff to lag out a bit more, but it is a good reminder. Like half of this is just me yapping about D&D, my love of the game, and like probably more than half of it, probably 60% of this is general D&D yappage. Suppress that. That's quite fun, actually. Just like something subtle, like a pile of rocks on the roadside, and just like other weird stuff like that could be the sort of fun demands Eldritch Patron does, and just there's not going to be an explanation. It's just like it's just a weird stuff that happens. So like what's on the like? I don't think there's much I need to go over with Obra at the moment. Outside of like. I think the main thing I need to bug Amina about is ship. Run / how it came about. characters. Praise the potato god. Praise the potato god. Encounters. What's it? I'm can't think of the right word. Of 100 years of fucker. Well, actually, that's a pretty good point. This character's 400 years old. They've been around for a while. Yeah. I mean, it's currently just like tentacles as an aesthetic, which, you know, I'm all here for. But, and like, yeah, you can just do weird stuff with it, which is funny. Why no? Navy/3. No, I think they've got like some sort of eternal youth shtick got out from it, but like they've spent 400 years doing nothing, just wasting time because they have all the time in the world, just jumping between attempt at employment and attempt at employment. That's not how you spell bounty, me. I should actually be able to get it up. Let's minimize that. And there's all these cute little chibis. Again, were done by Leosa. This Lucy is what's it called? Played by Amina. And like, there you go. There's the character art, and here's like the little token. It's honestly really flattering to get art of my like the silly little D&D game I'm running, and like there's Leosa drew character art. Amina drew character art for her own character. There's been fan art from some of Wes's community of his character, which is also the profile picture. Like, yeah, it really warms my heart. It's been one of the really nice things about doing this for everyone. Yeah, running this as like a Twitch thing is, yes, there's legitimate fan art of the characters in the game and stuff like actual like art and like artsy people, because well, I've been like once again on my art phase and just starting to doodle stuff again. There's actual character art and it's huge. It just makes me name of I mean, yeah, you can just have like these really fun concepts, especially with D&D and like time, because like an elf D&D wise lives like 750 years. I assume they get up to 1,000 because like I would assume 750 is their equivalent of human 80. So like yeah, they can get up to like 1,000. West or then slash is it just jittery slash split from order? John, two gods. Lias is playing the paladin, but like because they're a knight of an order, which is all about like protecting the falsely accused and I guess stand up for the little guy type shtick, and because they're also devotion paladin, so it's very much generic paladin-y things. Yeah, I mean, Warsaw just like setting locked and bits and bobs. Obviously, flavor is free. That's my catchphrase at this point. And even then, like a magical automaton isn't like the weirdest thing to play. If people like you do that again, I'm currently doing what's it called rules. It's sad to lose custom origin, but like just do it as a human, I swear. I don't really have much questions with at least like nothing pressing. I have for them because he probably had the most fleshed out character, because he was more D&D inclined. Played a lot of D&D games and like came in with like a pretty strong character concept immediately. Wes is playing an amnesiac wizard, so it's just memories after losing them. Concepts / pointers. If wanted. Just for like what? There's pointers for people. Plus, if wanted. And there's like sort of first things remembered. I mean, that is like the sort of like grand sort of stuff you get from a wizard, right? That there's the sort of egomaniac type stuff, and like 14, like Illusion Wizard's got some really good features. Like its capstone feature, Illusory Reality, is possibly the best feature in the game. Because like bonus action, your spells or whatever you say they are, they're real. Yeah, cool. I'm just gonna make a adamantine cage, non-concentration around that thing. Illusory Reality is the reason you play Illusion Wizard, but again, now they've changed the rules around spellcasting so that it's bonus action, as in one spell slot per turn. Being able to bonus action cast Minor Illusion is huge. Like at worst, that's I can block line of sight in combat. Oh. That's gonna be so fun. And because like now Major Image, is it Major Image or Silent Image? I think it might be Major Image. I'm thinking of the stuff with, yeah, it's Major Image that has the upcast. What's it to? Yeah, if you cast Major Image at 4th level, it's until dispelled, right? And with Illusionist, it's Illusory Reality. Illusion with a spell slot, you can make it real. So, you know, welcome back old Force Cage at 4th level spell slot. I'm sorry, what? Yeah, granted, it won't have the save or you can't exit the cage type shtick. But that's not why you picked up Force Cage previously, right? I guess it's a non-magical object, so it has to be like an adamantine or whatever. For fancy D&D metal is cage. But you make it as thick as you physically can with... Unless someone counts it as an innately magical material, but then you do it as the strongest material you can do, right? It's no larger than a 20-foot cube. So like, if it's even a large creature, what's it called? That takes up a 10-foot cube. So still getting some pretty thick walls in that cage. Just non-concentration, almost perfect shutdown. With a 4th level spell slot. no line of sight out of it, so and most teleports require line of sight. Honestly, huge. Yeah, level 1, silent image of bottomless pit. Oh, I'm gonna get up on the big screen because that's a big message. Level 1 silent image of bottomless pit on an enemy. If just reality to make it real for 1 minute, enemies flowing forever until it disappears, and it either gets buried under ungodly amount of earth and rock or shunted to the nearest thing, taking damage. I don't know if that counts as a non-magical object, it being a bottomless pit, but that's illusions do run differently thanks to oh, are you still playing on 2014 rules? If you're playing on 2014 rules, yeah, that is the case, but that's still one level lower than Force Cage, first of all. Because yeah, I'm thinking 5.5 because Illusion Wizard got better in 5.5/24. Because for 2024, they lowered the level for it to be permanent. I mean, you can just, like, obviously Force Cage is Force Cage, and Force Cage go brrr, right? Yeah, just quite a few things. I mean, obviously, you know, illusions. I mean, you're already playing the campaign. I'm sure you've already talked to your and know what your DM allows and doesn't allow with illusions. But it is non-magical items, so I don't know. I'm like, yeah, you can just Adamantine Cage with Silent Image. That's a first level spell. But the point is, non-concentration, almost perfect shutdown. Force Cage is now concentration and requires an expensive component, making it worse than Wall of Force, which is a 5th level spell. So don't pick up Force Cage anymore. If you are playing 2024. But, you know, Illusionist Wizard with a what's it called? 4th level spell slot. Just outdoes current Force Cage. I guess it requires an action and a bonus action. You know, so that could be your argument that, oh no, it's technically blah 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 blah. But I'm sorry, like, no, you're wrong. It's so good. And yeah, Silent Image is it's essentially Wall of Force, but using a 1st level spell slot and instead, but with your bonus action. Honestly, a huge feature, and that's ignoring all the like extra utility and the cool and funny stuff you can do with it, right? Illusion Wizard really good at high levels. Like, Illusionary Reality is so good. It's ridiculous. Not to say there aren't other, like, ridiculously good high-level spells. Or class features. I'm a really big fan of the fact that Uncanny Talent is now, like, level 7 or something. Like, yes, give the Rogue that. The Rogue needs it. I'm just going to put potential relations. I guess crew details. Everyone can get the potential. See, if it's like a once per day type shtick, it goes very much to high level spells. Again, there's the whole like components shtick part of it, and like what is a gold piece worth in modern day currency when it comes to stuff like that. But like something like there's gonna be a better version of something like Lesser Restoration, for example. Hi, welcome in. We be doing D&D yapping. Like Lesser Restoration, yeah. I mean, Wish is the obvious choice, right? So saying no Wish makes sense because you'd never. I mean, hello is recognizable enough. You know, you can go like mushy mushy or hola or whatever. Right, it's fine. Yeah, I mean, and 10 of people are allowed to just keep chatting English, but like, whatever. I'm saying hellos in different languages are like generally recognizable, and I'm not going to be weird about it. Hey, you can hit me with a Mingalaba if you want. My pronunciation is definitely awful. I can't speak my mother's language. It's embarrassing. D&D, I have to like sort of make a bit of session, but like this has also just sort of become like general character stuff I need to sort out, just yapping about D&D. Like the previous question was once per day, what spell? My current brain thought is something along the lines of okay, hoi. What's like was something along the lines of, and also welcome in. I hope you enjoy your stay, etc. I am Quack. I play games sometimes, and also do this. This is just general yappage, mostly. But there's also some D&D prepping hat, so I can put myself in the Dungeons and Dragons category, and thus, you know, why not? It's technically correct, which is the best type of correct. If there's a spell which essentially, there must be a spell which functions like on the druid or cleric spell list that functions like Lesser Restoration, like Mass Healing Word or something. Just for the like illness curing effects there. Like, you know, walk into like a cancer clinic and cure like 5 people of terminal cancer. Like, I'm sorry, like there's few. Gracial Restoration's a spell, but like it has costly components. And, like, I don't actually have to deal with curses and stuff in real life. I'm more just thinking of some, like, a mass heal or something like that, right? Okay. That is... Oh, I might, yeah, let's look at a knife level spell real quick. I mean, Shape Change is a huge tempter, honestly, because who doesn't like the idea of... Not counting component chant, does probably change this answer. True Resurrection becomes incredibly tempting, because like someone who's been dead for less than 200 years and you just bring them back. I mean, it doesn't like solve every problem, but it's pretty huge, honestly. Glibness is tempting, because that's just automatic 15s on every single thing, every single charisma check you make. Enhanceability would be hugely tempting, just because making yourself significantly better at basically everything. Clone's hugely tempting, because that just means you're immortal. Is clone the correct choice? It might be clone if you're not counting, like, components, right? Because that just makes you immortal. But not like the type of immortal where you can't die. But, like, the type of immortal where you like, if you die, you go into your magical clone. Molten Kindness Magnificent Mansion would also be huge. Because you get like a fancy thing, and like that's all like basic needs taken care of forever. I don't think without wish on the list there isn't a right answer. Bubbling Cauldron probably has quite a few good usage. Because it's common or uncommon potions, and I would have to go look at the common or uncommon potions. And then that one also then depends on what sources you're using. Climbing, comprehension, healing, watchful rest. I mean, that's never need to sleep. A bunch of antidotes. Give yourself advantage on a thing. Just a check. 3 enlarge, reduce. Bunch of resistances, healing. Filter of Love is a funny potion. Or just all the Healy stuff. I tend not to think... Yeah, Magnificent Mansion is a very good answer. To be fair. I tend to care about components. Well, as in, if we're talking like material components, I only tend to care if they're consumed. If they're not consumed, I tend not to care. Because it just unnecessarily nerfs spells in low-level D&D. Like, Chromatic Orb is just unusable if you're starting out because you don't have 100 spare or like 50 spare gold to just have on a diamond for one like mediocre evocation spell. It really hits the Tasha summons, which are alright spells, but they don't need that really costly component. If they're consumed, I count them because that's part of the balancing of a spell. So if like Find Familiar, I count it. Yeah, if there's a costed component that gets consumed by a spell, I will pay attention to that. I technically run the whole material components and spells with that don't have material components but have somatic. What's it called? That have somatic components, so you can't do the somatic component part with the hand that's holding what would be your spellcasting focus. I technically do that, but I just ignore it for the most part and say pick up Warcaster and then you're fine, and then we don't have to think about this ever again. Because even trying to explain that to my most rules proficient, because everyone's new to this edition and most people are new to D&D. One of the people, I think that new to this edition, and they might have played like 3rd or something like that, they got so confused by me trying to explain that spell, that rule that's just there. Mass Suggestion would be hugely tempting. Greater Restoration doesn't remove disease. Does Lesser Restoration even remove disease? Am I going crazy? No, it doesn't. I don't know why I thought it did. Maybe it did previously, but, Huh. I guess my old answer's completely gone. Because that's just not a thing any spells do anymore. But yeah, like, Resurrection takes an expensive diamond, and, like, so does Revivify. Huh. Do Paladins Lay on Hands still do that? Because, yeah, that does change my answer significantly, because, like, I would take being able to cure disease, like, once a day. No, paladins can't do that anymore either. So I guess removing disease as like a feature of spells is just kind of dead, which is interesting. No, lay on hands is just removes poison now. Disease removal is gone. Obviously magical diseases can stop. Yes, we don't get a Shelmet. I might because I lost the black and white run. I'm still thinking about commissioning some emotes. Well, more emotes because like I have 3 emotes and 2 of them are just a free to use rubber duck on the internet. No, we can't run it back. We don't. I'll probably come back to Pokemon Black and White as a Nuzlocke. Hardcore Nuzlocke at some point, and I probably will do calcs and like EV training. Because if I did any amount of EV training and had like attack EVs, I would have won that run. But I didn't, so I didn't. I guess, like, when you lose memory, like, you don't lose, like, skill abilities, that sort of thing. Where's a random thought? Brain a moment. I've got him frozen again. I really need to ask people who know more about Studio why it keeps them freezing. Because I don't see other people freezing nearly as often as I do. Hi, NDD. NDD. Definitely just an NDD. Do I? I did not add that to the description. Where is... Yeah, that should be added to the panels. The fact that I'm playing D&D is like the coolest thing I'm doing on my channel. Like by a long shot. There we go. That's like random stuff you need to ask them. Give me a second. I need to bathroom real quick. Fuck, that's incorrect. Boop. Boop. Actually, that one's the eating one. I'm going to delete the other one because I don't need it. That was a very specific moment. Okay, now I actually disappear. Or Smith, so the sort of surname you would have as a Smith is Smith. So I'm legitimate. They're going to be something or other Smith. Sure, Janessa. We shall have a blacksmith. Let's have this be like the missing person. It could be the blacksmith, because also buff blacksmith tiefling woman, because like these are all VTubers, so like all but one of them are at least a bit of a degenerate, if not more. I mean, everyone likes Toxic Yuri, so how much can I say? I'm gonna have to like actually put this information in a place where I can run it better. I also will now then need a list of potential people to get like murderized in the night. I mean, one of the fun things with tieflings is just a list of potentially associated lower planar characteristics. Traditionally infernal, because that's how it was in at least 5th edition base. D&D history goes a lot further back than 5th edition, but that's where I started, so that's what I know mostly about. At least lore-wise. I know like a couple cool battle mechanics from 4th. And some more bits about like 3 and 3.5, and like the further back, the less I know, which makes sense, considering I'm very much, you know, it's not like I was there at the birth of 5th edition, but I was, you know, I started playing a couple years after release. Oh yeah, Winged Tiefling. Winged Tiefling was actually possibly the best species to play in 5th edition base, because they could use medium armor and fly, unlike everyone else with unlimited flight, which makes them so powerful. Because all the other unlimited flights were light armor exclusive, but not Winged Tiefling. Because obviously the unlimited flight races, species, were the best species in 5th edition base, and were often banned for that reason. Or at least restricted. Like, I restricted them into level 5 when I running 2014 rules. But yeah, being able to wear medium armor and a shield and fly, unlimited, concentration free, huge. It's one of the reasons, like, I think if you're playing a martial, I think Dragonborn's probably your best bet in 2024, because you're probably playing melee. And then, you know, also having the breath weapon only be one weapon attack is neat, rather than your entire action. So if you need a breath weapon, you can. Not that it's going to be great at low levels, but, like, you know, 2d10 as one of your attacks. Yeah, I do believe our warlock is the succubus lineage, but we just used the infernal version for the 2024 rules, because that lines up the closest. That's fire resistance, that's And like the spells line up best. Although it's Darkness and Hellish Rebuke and Firebolt. Those are the most generic tiefling-y spells that you can get. But like the Infernal variant was the 2014 base, and most of the variants were based off the different Archdevils, but now they have essentially Abyssal, Infernal, and Chthonic, or whatever Yugoloth one is. Which is what, like, Daemons or Yugoloths are weird. Like, everyone gets, thingamajig. I thought you said, Wing Tiefling. Unless you've just managed to double dip and get both, which, you know, honestly, good for you. Hard Person's a good spell. Poison Spray, less so. I think it's a massive dub. I don't know if that means if you have a fire resistance or the poison resistance, but both are good resistances to have. And like if you can make a balance, that it's fine, right? I think we're playing Succubus Lineage as like, yeah, that's the thing. And Succubus is a miscellaneous fiend anyway, so like use any one of the lineages you want, because Succubuses aren't a devil, demon, or Yugoloth. And big up on Rogue, honestly. They've probably got buffed at least, but like Rogue's not a bad class at all. I like Rogues a lot because Reliable Talent at level 7 is so fun. Again, flavor is free. I'm the world's biggest flavor is free component. Right? If your character lines up with the rules, I don't exactly care what you're doing for the most part. Like, obviously, there's a certain amount of dude, don't be weird. But outside of that, hey, I mean, I think like the real highlight in Rogue in my brain is Reliable Talent, right? You pick it up at 7 and then, you know, off to the races with whatever you want to do, because that's why you're in Rogue in my brain. You want Reliable Talent because I don't want to reload lower than a 10. It's so funny. The evasion's also really good. It's a very nice feature. And also you get like a buttload of expertise, and a lot of the game is just skill checks. Like, I think optimizers over value the combat side of the game. Not that it isn't a huge part of the game, and like time-wise it's a huge part of the game. But like, there's like pretty much everything out of combat is skill checks. And like personal creativity. And there's some amount of like use of other tools like suggestions, illusions, and like other magic-y features to assist. But skill checks are like the bread and butter of pretty much everything that isn't combat. Oh, Entertainer background's also, like, it's a selfless background to take, but it's so good, because Heroic Inspiration, every rest for like, proficiency bonus number of people. Massive dub. And what's it called? When someone already has Heroic Inspiration, it can bounce onto other people, so... It is, I think, the best Origin feat, but it's also a selfless one, so people don't pick it as much. And it's also something you have to remember. So, like, if someone's new, I would honestly just say pick up Tough. It will just make you die less, and that's huge. You know, also alert's really good because it lets you swap initiatives. Initiative's really useful, and even if you forget to swap initiative, just having a plus bonus to your initiative is nice. A minute to add jail. Again, wouldn't random if I didn't have to, but I have to. These have been going for 3 hours, huh? I just run custom backgrounds, but I think it's merchant. I can check real quick. Because I hate the new background system. Yeah, merchant gives you lucky. I don't know if it's just merchant. Wayfinder gives you lucky as well. I mean, they said customize it in the DMG, so that's up to DM via slash at tables. So like, if you're like optimized building, I would assume use the presets, and then like you kind of have to suck up having worse skills and pray that you don't have to have. I mean, it's unlikely that an origin feed's going to make or break your build, but like, you certainly sometimes want certain ones. Lucky did get like a deserved nerf. Not that actually, it wasn't actually like all as nearly as overpowered as people made out to be, in my mind, but it did kind of deserve a bit of a nerf, especially now it's proficiency bonus, which I like. Yeah. Like, I guess optimized characters is not like the right thing to do. Like, if you're building characters in a vacuum, it's probably best to do stuff like use the preset backgrounds and use like point buy. I'm sorry if you're in that jail. If you're not in that jail, let me know. Oh, no worries. I was actually asking you if you got trapped in ad jail or not. That was only a minute. Theoretically it's longer, but ad jail isn't like ad jail's a bit of a lie, but not a full lie. No, I was just saying like it's best to assume when building characters in a vacuum. No one actually uses point buy, but I mean I use 4d6 drop lowest, and then you can either choose to re-roll after that, or you can use point buy. Is how I do it. So you can gamble and then you can double gamble because I think that's funny. But if you don't want to double gamble, you can point by, but also you can roll without worrying about the fact that you might just end up using point by, because, like, worst case scenario, you roll terribly, and it's like, oh well, I wanted to use point by anyway, and then you just use point by. But I think it's best to, yeah, just assume no legacy content. That sounds ridiculous. 2d6 plus 6 is huge. It's an automatic max roll, right? But then again, like, the game's a power fantasy, so do as you please. Right, it does slightly, like, break some amount of multi-class balancey stuff. Yeah. I've seen 46 drop to lowest reroll ones. I've seen 1d20, which is the funniest thing I've seen. It's not a good way of doing it, but it's funny. Yeah, although, like, you're minimizing at, like... Well, your min's 8. Which isn't particularly low, and you're not... I mean, what, you're averaging... What? 4th? Wait, no, that's not right. I'm being silly here. No, wait. I mean, no, because that just becomes 7, so 7 plus 6 is 13. So you're averaging 13, which is like the multi-class number. Right? Which isn't bad at all. I guess you wouldn't want 13s across the board, because that would suck. Because, like, what'd you do then, huh? You need, like, one good stat, at least. You kind of want 2 pretty good and 1 alright stat for basically every class in the game. Yeah. Like, I'm not sure if I'd be happy or not if I got a character with 14 in every stat. I mean, with ASIs, you can get up to 16 in your most important stat, which is fine. And then you just bump that. So actually, I would be pretty happy with 14 in every stat, because that's really funny. There's 14 con, 14 dex. You do a multi-class where you're just using light armor. And you have 0 multi-class restrictions, because 14's above 13. Honestly, that would be quite funny. I mean, you could also do something really stupid, like a bonk, right? Barbarian monk. That's what you do if you have university good stats. Oh no, that's not average Joe. That is above average Joe. Average Joe's cooler cousin. You're just kind of good at everything. Not great at everything, but that is Jack of all trades, master of none. Full stop. Where's my single brain cell going? Well, again, I have more than one brain cell. It's just the rest of them on strike. It's not going to be a consistent piece of lore. I need a name for the town. Yeah. I'm not paying them. I refuse. I will not pay the brain cells. They're my brain cells. They should do their work for free. Riverwood's a place somewhere. Like, Riverwood has to be a... Riverwood's a store, apparently. I need a fancier word for river, essentially. And a fan... Yeah. And a fancier word for forest. I mean... Arboretum. That's getting Latin as well as... I should go to my Old English words. Holt is apparently forest. Fancier thing. Mia. Yeah. You can just add Ston as an end, but I like slightly fancy town. I mean, yeah, Turn or sister. There's no way Halton isn't a real place. Because that's just a fancy. No, okay, well, there's the name of a new town. Halton. Holt being Old English for forest. Because I think I'm just going to use Old English from now on as, like, my... We use word that just feels Welsh. Because wise. Thank you for historyofenglish.com/old-english-words. I find in taverns, like, you find, like, a terrible pun, or it's just, in the same way, like, you just think of a pub you've seen, or... I don't know, I've never really found taverns the worst. Thing to name. I think if I just do a werewolf as a paragon, and I tend to run paragons the wrong way around, where they get stronger when they get lower because video game logic. And I'll give them non-silvered bludgeoning, piercing, and slashing damage resistance. Which doesn't actually mean anything, because the entire party can do Not bludgeoning, piercing, or slashing damage. I just need to remind my paladin that they can do that as their channel divinity. Because I don't think they've done that once. So that actually means nothing. Yeah, I suppose I need triggers pack tactics when they're on mode 2. But I also might ignore that. Because... I also don't like the modern werewolf rules. I'm gonna have to try tracking moon cycles though if someone gets turned into a werewolf. Two. I wasn't having her be, like, sacrificed. I was having her be, like, essentially turned and gone on, like, a mad rampage for a week as, like, the deal. Because the earlier ideas with the whole sacrificed thing, I wanted to save the hag bips and bobs for later. But, like, also I need an excuse for them to just be, like, permanently gone for quite a while. So I needed an excuse to enrage them. And just have them be a constant issue. For at least a bit. No, they've sort of... Yeah, oh, okay. Yeah, sorry. No, they've sort of... They've only actually sacrificed a week of... Like, this seems like they've gotten away scot-free, which means they haven't, because they're on, like, a murderous rampage. And presumably have, like, killed their other half, and now just, like, every night, like, brutally slaughtery, demonic-y, ritually stuff. Which actually I might get into more detail on, like, the methods, and so they've sort of fully given up control for a week in order to get the rest of their lifetime free of the curse. So like, you know, like, get it all out the way, right? Definitely a good idea in this case. It means I will have to make, like, a town map for, like, this sort of combat, or, like, find up a forest map for this encounter to happen in. Because they're, like, permanently turned and being a massive issue. Also means, like, as stuff gets worse, if they can't, like, figure out and stop this, I can start having... Because, like... Silenced by whom? Hmm. Well, look. I do not think my party could deal with, like, a pack of werewolves. Power. Like, I could tone them down, but, like, I would rather have one big cool boss fight where... Because I want to try again with Paragon rules, and it seems like a good enough time to do it. And also, like, the whole idea of a Paragon is they burn a bunch of stuff, getting rid of the first bit, and then, like, bam, it shakes the stuff off, and now it's 2 monsters until they put it down again. It's a two-phase boss fight, and I find that hilarious. And then it gets 2 initiatives, and it's just 2 of the same creature. We do have criminal syndicate-y stuff going on. But, like, probably not here, because, like, there's not much of value here. It's all... Like, it's just, like, an in-between point. Yes, I realize I didn't open stuff up there, because there might be something identifiable. I don't think so, just that's what I've been doing. I suppose it identifies me as a British university student, which you could all guess. If you really know what you're looking at. And some of my hobby stuff. British? What or what? Yeah. No, I'm aware. No. Android is a genuinely pretty good. Like, I've written stuff down and stolen stuff for later, but I think I'm gonna give this to. And also, because this is a blacksmith thing, you know, if I investigate her shop, you know, in shop, shrines. Do I want silvered weapons to do? Who's like old man? Old man just plays horror games on his channel, like exclusively. Like he plays games with other people, but like he just plays horror games, like proper horror games on his channel. Right. I mean, this kind of is, I guess, kind of in the double life thingy, but not in like the actual. I haven't actually read it, but I've seen a lot. OSP production, literature, thingy-majig. Classics. Thingy-majig? I don't remember what the name of the series is called. OSP Productions is great. Big fan. Did I say OSP Productions? It's overly sarcastic productions. So that would be overly That's the same shtick as saying SMH my head. Well, I don't remember what silver. I think silvered weapons do like extra damage to to shapeshifters on a crit, is what they officially do. Which is a very like mediocre pseudo magic item to give to a character. You know what? It's completely free. And also like there's our hints in the thing, right? I need to make up some like incredibly gruesome details, which I'm not going to do on this stream because I haven't put those tags on for like the nature of the butchering. I should look at some like demon statuma blocks. Yeah, I just don't wanna. Well, I'm immune to bludgeoning, piercing, and slashing damage. That wasn't, but like the immunity's a bit much. I even thought that back then, and also, well, it was also non-silver. It was non-silvered, non-magical, which was the thing. But like that magical and non-magical, bludgeoning, piercing, and slashing damage have been. Like there is no distinction between them anymore, so that's why I just did resistance. Like so, even if you have like a magic +1 sword, it doesn't like they still get resistance because it's not silvered. Is essentially how I'm doing it. But I'll probably give them vulnerability to silvered, and I'm giving them a silver sword. And then like there's really easy access to one. What on earth is a Maine's Vapor Swarm? Hey, you got Charmander! That's like the starter Pokemon of all time. You got your Mime Junior. I'm banned from partaking in that while I'm, what's it called, streaming? Because I used to do that some. I really need to rearrange the DM stream, like on like the item scene, because it's slightly off and it's annoying. It's annoying me, at least. It's the sort of like minor perfectionism that'll really get to me. Ah. How do you feel about Galarian, Mr. Mime, and Mr. Rhyme? Out of curiosity. Fair enough. My favorite Pokemon's Banette, which is just a little goober, like me, and it's like decent inspiration for my lore. Oh well, the sentence of lore I have in the About Me. I think lore's one of those things you need, but like you don't have to do particularly hard as a VTuber. And then it just gets more convoluted as you like meet people and get relations. Well, Relations as in whatever your dynamic is between between people. It probably wouldn't be like find a missing blacksmith. It'd probably to like. I always give Dragonborn. This is probably because of Critical Role. I'm not going to get into all the stuff about Tiberius, but because Tiberius being like the first like D&D Dragonborn to make an impression on me in the way back whens, I always use that sort of naming convention when it comes. I mean, there's both the Empire, which shares its naming convention with that sort of Roman stuff. I always use that as Dragonborn names as well. Like, I played a dragon, like, it was possibly my favorite. It's like I did some just funny optimized building, theory crafting sort of stuff back in 2014, but my favorite build I made was like a martial, but he had like a mix of all sorts of stuff, like crowd control, social stuff, etc., and it was Sir Arcadius Aurelian of Pardwell, and he was just a goober. I ended up retiring the character because he really didn't gel with the party he was in, like vibes-wise, well, personality-wise, but like the build was superb. It was like Battlemaster, because it was Emerald Dragonborn and then mixing it with old. It was Battlemaster Fighter, then mixed with old, well, going to be mixed with old Totem Barbarian. So it was like universal damage resistance. You could get the quote-unquote soft taunt with Battlemaster to protect your friends because he was like one of two not incredibly squishies. But I gave myself room for crowd control with Dragon Fear. And yeah, I had a breath weapon for AoE attacks, but like Dragon Fear used the same sort of slot as that. And he had like a commanding presence to do social stuff if he needed. And, yeah, he was just such a fun character to play mechanically. And I enjoyed the personality he had for him, but just again wasn't the right. He was a very like he was a knight and a noble in a very like criminally covert party. So I changed him out for a different character whose name's escaping me. I know his name was a code name, the one he gave people. Try and remember what, I can't remember. And he was the funny, because reckless attack with a rapier can trigger sneak attack. Arcane Tricks is a bang over subclass, even better now. Probably the best rogue subclass. Because getting magic good. But like even when your spell schools were limited, still probably the best. So goated. Also because invisibility is just a perfect fit for a rogue. Because there's all the issues of needing, like, 3/4 cover to stealth, / being heavily obscured. But you don't need that if you're invisible, which means you can sneak anywhere. Which is fun. But, like, going in alone is generally a bad idea. Like, pass without trace the party. You'll be fine. Pass without trace is one of those features you want in every D&D party, so you kind of want a druid or a ranger in every D&D party. You kind of want a paladin in every D&D party because of aura of protection. And then you kind of want... I mean, a paladin can function as a face of a party, like charisma-wise. But you kind of want... you might want someone who's even more charisma-based, but who knows. I think those are like the two things you always want in a party I can think of. Aura of protection and pass without trace. Especially if your DM doesn't do group stealth, which I don't because pass without trace exists. It's not like you don't get to be hidden from enemies that don't perceive you, but like clonk, 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 clonk isn't particularly effective. But like most enemies are also at -5 to the passive perceptions because of dark vision. So yeah. Unseen Servant's a great spell. I mean, it's an hour's labor from... I mean, it is an invisible force, which is such a poorly defined thing as well. It's not a creature. It's just a thing. Yeah, I mean, there's also Mage Hand, which can do that sort of stuff. Yeah. And again, it's a ritual spell, which is huge, because, like, out of combat casting, you know, cool, it takes 10 minutes to cast. But, like, you have it for an hour, I think. So that's just kind of huge, honestly. I can imagine, like, Fantasia with that, because it's an hour's labor for 10 minutes labor. So, yeah, if you need to clean your house and you're a wizard, you just start spam casting. I don't actually know if you can have multiple invisible servants up, but if you can... Actually, I want to check that. I assume you can. Okay. Unseen servant, non-visible servant. Yeah. Yeah, you can have as many as you want. So, like, you need to clean you need to clean your house. You just start spam casting invisible servant and you get all the invisible servants to do it. I suppose they can't, like, properly deep scrub something because they have a strength of 2. Well, it says it can fetch, clean, and mend. And do stuff a human can do. So... like... I don't know how much that strength 2 plays into that. I assume that's like for like overall carrying capacity. Maybe it can deep scrub, will just take it a while because it doesn't have like the strength to put behind it too much. Yeah. There's also strength of 2, which are slightly contradictory because the average person has a strength of 10. I'm gonna convert that to kilograms. I can look it up, actually, like, right now. Yeah, that's still, like, 27 kilograms, so, like... Hi, welcome in. Carrying capacity... Okay, it depends on the size that you are, which makes sense. Yeah, so its carry capacity would be 30 pounds for carrying, and its drag, lift, and push would be to 60. So that's like 14 kilos, which, you know, isn't the most, but it's definitely enough to do most household tasks. And II sounds really familiar. It's either like that thing with a really long finger, or it's a type of bird. It's the lemur with a really long finger, isn't it? That would be horrifying. Eyes are pretty horrifying as they are. Like, that is not a... For something that's... Oh, okay. Alex, thanks for reminding me that II exists. Probably making me remember why I didn't want to remember things. Well, there'll need to be like a whole backstory. I mean, I'm not sure when II would be here. Is this not Madagascan climate? But that is pretty horrific. I shall put that in the random ideas section I am now creating for that, because that's funny. Along with murder cabbages, but like that's a Konosuba reference. So I can't do that with this party because the VTubers was a bunch of weebs. But flying murder cabbages is a great reference, and I need a name. Yeah, no, Unseen Summons is a great spell. I was just more thinking about how it interacts with what's it called, like ending and taking stuff from place to place. But 14 kilos is more than enough to at least be useful, especially when, you know, you can cast as many times as you want, and you can have like, you know, 6 of them up at a time, because it's an hour duration and like 10-minute casting time. So I think it's 6 you'll be able to have up until the first one expires, or like 5. This is like a very basic piece of logic, but it's like, it's getting close to half 11 for me, which means I might end up so, I mean, it's one of the reasons why Wizard's the best class in the game, right? Because they can cast what's it called? they can cast all their ritual spells from the book without preparing them, which is slightly ridiculous. Which makes and stuff like Unseen Servant, Find Familiar, Alarm, Comprehend Languages, Detect Magic. The list goes on. You know how to make someone question their sanity outside of combat? When they want to romance an NPC, say, seduce me. Or just regular old gaslighting. Mirror Image is now like a lot better of a spell. Blur's concentration disadvantage. Unseen Servant, I don't understand how it's... Oh, I see why Unseen Servant would make someone question their sanity, because it's like a ghost around just being a goober. I'm gonna be honest, I'm not sure what you mean. How would you do Mirror Image and Blur out of combat if you were to do so? I think the mirror images, if you're asking like how would that appear, I think the mirror images would also be blurry, right? Just they changed the interaction where they have to hit against your AC and then it goes to the mirror images rather than the other way around. So presumably the mirror images are also blurry, which is just how your eyes trying to like look at that general direction. So their abilities stack essentially. And because only Blur's concentration, very nice. Although I don't think Blur is a particularly good spell, IMO, because it's. But like, yeah, I think. Especially because Changelings had that frightened feature where they just like cause a Bedouble and like a frighteny charmy like effect on the vision. You know what? Sure, go for it. I think that would just count as a flavor thing, so I don't see why not. I mean, to be fair, my general ruling there is I'm only using the 2024 content just for the sake of simplicity and my bank account, because I'm using digital rules and like streaming, so I need all the rules. Like, you know, I can't Jack Sparrow the rules essentially, and he's a new player, so it's just nice and easy. I'm with my IRLs. I'm yet to make a big decision on. I think I am just running 2024 onwards. But like, if you just want to have your mirror images appear as different people, go for it. I think that would be more a silent image plus minor illusion type shtick, rather than, because to run as a mirror image, it's all like sort of overlapping. So, like having like 4 people all overlapping would certainly confuse and make it hard to hit someone in combat. But I don't think that would be the sort of effect it would have. But you could certainly, like, fake a possession or, like, some other, like, getting abducted or something strange there with mirror. Obviously, you know, it's not going to work on a wizard, probably, because the wizard probably recognizes the spell. But, you know, if you're in the middle of nowhere and no one knows about magic, you could probably, you know, you could probably use that to trick some people. But, like, if you're trying to, like, fake a dispute, that's more of the realm of, like, silent image-y, minor illusion-y stuff. And, like, I'm happy to let people do cool stuff with illusions, because they're illusions. And what's the point of them being in the game, if not to let people do cool stuff with them? But, you know, obviously there's a limit to their capabilities, especially at high levels when things start to get, like, true sight and blind sight and this, that, and the other, which kind of just see for illusions. Yeah, something like that. Especially if, like, you know, if these people don't have, like, any understanding of what's going on, you're just seeing, like, 4 versions of one person in the same spot. So I would allow it, personally, because that's a cool creative idea. And honestly, I will happily reward cool creative ideas, because I feel like if as a DM you're not encouraging cool creative solutions, I, like, go play a war game, in a way. But, like, at the same time, you know, D&D is what you make of it. It's like, right, it's all, like, a lot of it's, like, illusion magic-y, talky stuff is stuff you'll have to talk between you and a DM, because, you know, I've got my group and I've got my players, but, and, like, to be honest, if you want to, like, use illusions a lot full stop, you really do need to talk to DMs, because they run it super differently, just so your expectations are aligned, rather than anything else, because there's other cool character concepts you can make than an illusion goober, but if you go in building an illusion goober and hope to do a bunch of stuff and your DM's just doesn't run illusions that way, you're not going to have a good time. And, like, the real thing that causes, I mean, outside of people who are just problem people, the real thing that causes issues is differing expectations, rather than someone running it one way or someone running it another, right? I think it's more exploring the realm of what is possible to do with a certain spell. Because, like, you may not have room to prepare mirror, you know, silent image, especially if you're not playing, like, an illusionist wizard. You know, you may just not have room for it, but mirror image is a nice defensive spell to have, especially if you have armor proficiency. I think would be the thought there, right? Because you only get so many spell preps, so it's just like, okay, what cool stuff can I get away with a kit I have prepared? Rather than a... You know, obviously don't take me saying I would let this happen be as, like, a go to your DM and, like, oh, look at this VOD of, you know, random, internet dungeon duck man. Obviously don't do that, but, you know, there's only, if you want to see if you can make a cool distraction with, you know, a good defensive spell that isn't concentration, but, like, you don't have room, because you don't have room for everything you want to have. It's, once again, me bigging up the wizard and its unlimited ritual spells. So considering it's 11:30, I'm at Raid Out. If you've enjoyed, feel free to follow. If you haven't, no, I don't feel required. But yeah, I think I'm gonna raid out because it's late for me. I've been going for 4 hours essentially, and while not particularly productive, I think this is good fun. So I can't complain. Wonder. That could be interesting. I'm trying to see if there's anyone else doing, I mean, what's it called? Like, session preppy stuff. Which I don't think people actually do in the D&D thing. I think I've hijacked this tag and used it in an inappropriate way, but no one's going to stop me.
That we are doing. Oh, hello! Tripper. Nice. That's damage. And that's...
But, you know what, we're going to send you
sneak attack
to actual
advantage.
D&D. Owie.
There we go. That's not a great sneak attack roll. No, I want to do it. And since we have...
Well, thank you so much for tuning in.
27?
27.
Higher than 15.
Nice.
I hope you have a
have
wonderful
to-
rest of
all
your
you have to
day.
do is get higher
Be
than
kind,
15.
be good, etc., etc.
Free cash,
And
free cash
yeah,
back.
go be nice to these people.
We know
I have no idea who they are, but hopefully they're pretty chill.
Okay. Well,
Bye.
I'm just doing the